So now we get to the real reason that we use this technique. Any individual bit, particularly something like the port B data register, might be better accessed by individual commands, bit clear, bit set, branch if bit set. There's a handful of assembly language commands that allow you to go test one bit and do something if it's set or clear. What they don't let you do is do something like this, where you can mask multiple bits at the same time. That has to be done using this technique that we showed in the last video. So let's say that we want port B D3 and port B D5. We want both of those bits. We want the rest of them to just go away. Or alternatively, we want to mask over them, over those other bits, so that we're left with just these two. How do we want to do that? Let's do what we did last time. We want to go from that byte at the top down to that byte at the bottom. We want only those two particular bits to stay non-zero. If they're non-zero, we want them to stay unchanged. And the other bits, we all want to go to 0. Shouldn't take you too long to figure out. We're still going to do an AND. And the particular operand, the piece that goes beside the AND, isn't too hard to figure out either. We want to keep a 1, just like last time. Port BD3 needs a 1 to stay port BD3. And the new one, port BD5, needs a 1 as well. Everything else just gets a 0. Now that byte, unlike last time, does not have a special name. It's not predefined. It's still the mask, but we're going to have to build this ourselves. We're going to have to roll our own, so to speak. And that's because if you think about it for just a minute, you'd realize there's many possible combinatorics, and also it's not clear what they'd be named. So the include file just has individual byte masks. It doesn't have every possible mask. So how are we going to get this thing? Let's think about this as the output of some equation. So we want something with a 1 where bit 5 is and a 1 where bit 3 is. How do we get there? Well, let's start with our old friend PTBD underscore PTBD 3 underscore M. That has a 1 at least where bit 3 is. It doesn't have one where bit 5 is. So let's bring in a new friend, PTBD underscore PTBD 5 underscore M. So this one has a 1 where 5 is and 0 is everywhere else. And if only we could combine these two using some sort of mathematical or logical operation, life would be beautiful. We have a couple of candidates. We could use an inclusive or we could use a plus. Technically, we could use an exclusive or, but that way lies madness. I've never seen anyone suggest that that's what they need to do. I will see some people say that you should add, and I will see some people say you should use inclusive or. I happen to have an opinion on this, and in this class, I would choose to have you use the inclusive or. My reasoning is this. Let's say that you're working on a byte with lots of little things that you need to do either an inclusive or an add with. So you've got, let's say, 4 or 5 different masks that you're putting together. It's pretty possible, especially when you're cutting and pasting lines of code, it's pretty possible to accidentally put the same mask in twice. So let's say you got a string of these masks and you accidentally put the mask for bit 3 in twice. Well, what happens if you inclusive or? Inclusive or of something with itself is just that something. Nothing happens. You've put PTBD3's mask in twice, you get PTBD3 included. Nothing fancy. But if you use plus, if you put PTBD3's mask in twice, you're going to get PTBD4 and not PTBD3. That way, to me, lies madness, so I suggest not doing a plus, even though technically it works as long as you use it well. I don't prefer it because it's not as robust to a screw-up as is the inclusive or. But once you've made that choice, you know how to build this particular byte. Let's do the assembly for this. First, we want to load A with whatever's in PTBD. We got to get those 8 bits loaded in the accumulator where we can work with them. Then we need to apply the mask. We can do that again, really with 3 lines of code, and you choose one. So either AND it with 40, AND it with hex 28, which is, by the way, 40, or AND it with a constant, a number, which you build up using the assembler to combine 2 masks. This, by the way, is identically 40. Right? On the S08, these 2 bits are located in such a way that it's 32 plus 8. I again prefer the mask version for the reason that you can read it, you can see what those bits are. I slightly prefer the hex to the decimal because it's much easier to go from the number to the bit locations in the hex, but any of them work. I actually kind of like binary too, because at least then you can see what bits they are. I argue that the third option with the masks has the advantage that you don't ever have to go to that data sheet if you know what the bits are. Any of those AND operations will take you to where you've got exactly the byte you were looking for. Then you need to write some more assembly to go do something with it.